we heard from a lot of people that, especially, a lot of the art of homeownership partners we connected with out in Las Vegas, that there was a need and a desire for them to get better on the initial phone call, the initial dreams and goals call. This really sets the tone for how your client will perceive you. If any of you saw the live stream of the speech or the presentation we gave at the event, we're not trying to beat the competition here, right? We're trying to make them irrelevant. And if you really want to get into that blue ocean, everyone on your team, you and everybody on your team, really needs to understand how to set the tone on the initial phone call. So the key for that dreams and goals call is twofold. It should be discovery, right? Learning about the client, and delivery of your value proposition. From there, what that will do is it will bring you into the next phase, right? Which is your consultation phase, which is when you really get to give the client your ideas, your suggestions, your strategy for the mortgage, right? So the intake of the client is incredibly important. So, we got the question a lot was, well, when do we have that call, right? Do we have it before the pre-approval? Is it the initial conversation? So the dreams and goals call is the first call that you have, but that should be scheduled. It should not be, you shouldn't surprise anybody by the fact that they're going to spend 20 to 30 minutes on the phone with you, sometimes even 40 to 45, depending on how that call goes. And some of you may be thinking, well, that's too long, right? We just talk to them for 5 or 10 minutes, send them the online application, tell them what documents to get in, and then we review it. And if you're wondering why you're not helping more families, that's the reason, is because everybody does the same thing. Every single originator across the country. And my favorite question to ask any client who comes to us pre-approved, oh yeah, I was already pre-approved, but my realtor told me to reach out and that you guys are good. Okay, well, do you mind if I ask how that pre-approval process went? Let me take a stab at it. You called or they called you. You talked for a couple minutes. They didn't ask you very many questions. They sent you an online application for you to fill out on your own. You got a list of documentations to send back in. You did that. And then within a day or so, they gave you a pre-approval letter. Does that sound about accurate? And almost every single time you're going to hear yeah, that's pretty much how it went. And as soon as I hear that, I go, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, I want to apologize. Why? What are you apologizing for? Well, what just happened is that lender was very intentional about selling you a loan, but they did not care at all about helping you long term. If they would have asked a lot of the questions that I'd like to ask you. So if you have time now, let's spend some time and let's go through a proper discovery process, because I need to learn as much as possible about you, your finances, your goals, your objectives as I possibly can, to really give you good advice. Because what just happened is you just basically went and ordered a 30-year fix with cheese, and then that person's about to give you a 30-year fix with cheese. They're giving you what you want, but not what you need. So if you have the time now, let's do it. If not, let's schedule it for later today or tomorrow, or whatever is appropriate. And let's go through a really kind of in-depth analysis of your situation. That way I can really be as valuable as possible to you. If they have the time, then get into the Dreams and Goals call. And you guys have that script. The whole Dreams and Goals call script is in the e-learning platform. Some of you may have heard me again on that presentation talk about, we had a past client who her husband passed away unexpectedly, and they didn't have life insurance. And I felt extremely responsible for the fact that they didn't have life insurance. Like, if you're not asking that question along with every other question on the Dreams and Goals call, you're part of the problem. Right? And we're not here to be part of the problem. We're here to be part of the solution. We're here to change the industry. So we have to ask the right questions to be able to give the right advice. So again, have that Dreams and Goals call, and then you say, by the way, did your realtor or however you found us, are you aware of what makes us unique? Right? So you've asked all the right questions, and then you get into the unique aspect of it. Now, if they give you any pushback about getting into that Dreams and Goals call or the application process, then bring in the unique value propositions first. But more than anything, you need them to know they're dealing with a different breed of mortgage professional, right? A mortgage professional who has a different intention and a different commitment to them. And as soon as you do that, they see you differently, they engage differently, they connect differently. and they see the process through a whole new scope. So I'm going to say, Mr. Smith, it's important to understand, if you don't already realize this, if your Mr. Realtor didn't tell you, we're really unique in the way that we operate as a mortgage lender. Most mortgage companies think their job is just to pre-approve you and then close your loan and do that well and fast. Now we're going to do those things, but we want to let you know how we're going to help you before the transaction, during the transaction, and most importantly after. Right? That's the most important part of it. So we're going to go over this more in the consultation. We'll go much more in depth, but in short, we're going to help you before the transaction by educating you to make sure that you're actually, you should be buying a home, and then buying the right home, making sure that we stand out amongst other offers by, making you look like a cash offer, increasing the likelihood of you getting your offer accepted to a much higher percentage than normal, and making sure you're really confident in that whole process. So our clients love the fact that we help them get offers accepted. We help them feel confident, motivated, and excited. During the process, and we'll go through more of that in the consultation, we'll explain more how we make you look like a cash offer. During the process, we have one of the best customer service experiences in the country. You can go online if you haven't done your due diligence, just type in Insight Team and read our reviews, read our customer feedback. We'll go into that more in the consultation as well. But we're going to take all the stress and anxiety out of it. We're going to close quickly. And we're going to make sure that everything's done efficiently and effectively. But the most important part of what we do is we're going to help you for the next 30 years to be a really successful homeowner. And most people don't know that they even need that. Because they just want a mortgage. And so no other mortgage company I know offers this. But for the next 30 years, we're going to help you in every aspect of real estate or finance to really make sure that you're growing your generational wealth, planning for future real estate goals, always in the right mortgage, avoiding any bad decisions, and taking advantage of every aspect of real estate or finance. So we'll go through much more of that in the consultation. When's a good time for us to schedule that consultation, right? It's going to be about 45 minutes to an hour. We can do it via Zoom, just like this. You'll see my screen. I'll see you. You'll see me. You can come in the office if you'd like, if you guys are doing that. But ultimately, that's the next step, right? So Dreams and Goals call, you intake the information appropriately, and you ask all the right questions, not just the questions to approve them for a mortgage. That's going to help you structure the loan the most appropriate way. And it's also going to get full engagement from the client. And what you'll find is that that client will go back to the realtor and say, thank you so much for that referral. That was nothing like me talking to my other lender. It's clear that this mortgage lender definitely has our best interest in mind because they taught us a lot we didn't know, right? They provided us a ton of value that we didn't even know we needed. And that's what's going to separate you. And that's what this platform is really meant to do, everyone, right? It's meant to elevate you to a place where your clients, your partners, you, yourself, and your teammates all see you as a different breed with a higher level commitment to the consumer. So that's when you have that call, right? It's prior to pre-approval. It's the first conversation. It's the first like real in-depth conversation you have, and then that sets up the actual consultation. The objective, as we talked about, twofold, is going to be discovery, intake of information. We talk about being puzzle pieces. Right, so when you're doing that discovery call, you're gathering the puzzle pieces. And then when you do the consultation, you've put those puzzle pieces together and you're showing them the picture. Most people don't do either. They don't, the application gets enough information. They don't show them any picture other than a pre-approval letter. And they assume that the client's going to have all the right information, and they won't, right? You're creating a uncertain, scared buyer who's not going to make smart decisions. They're going to make emotional decisions, and that's going to be your and your realtor partner's fault because it's our responsibility to help them do that. You definitely want to do it via Zoom. In person would be ideal, but we know that the world has changed. We do the majority of them now via Zoom. So they see us, we see them, we see our screen. The phone is a third, right? So the initial call, the Dreams and Goals call, can easily be done by phone. It definitely shouldn't be done in person. I'm thinking through this. I was talking about the consultation. I apologize. So the initial call, phone would be the easiest way. Zoom would be ideal because you make an instantaneous connection. Yeah, you're seeing each other. You can share your screen real quickly if you need to show a couple things, and then you can just walk them through the questions. But when it comes to the actual consultation, That's got to, that can't be done via phone. People are not visual, they're not auditory learners, they're visual learners. What should be prepared for the call in terms of PowerPoints, paperwork, and questions? You just want to have, ideally your CRM is set up to be able to input all this. So our team will have the dreams and goals call. So let me pull this up here. So you want to have this available. You can either put it in this document and then save this into your CRM, which is totally fine. Or you can just put all, you can have this up, but then be putting the input into your CRM. Because some of these will be application questions that can be transferred over into the application, but a lot of them won't be, right? This is not an application question, not an application question. No, this is, right? But you want to get more in depth with actual notes as opposed to just numbers, and you can't really put notes into your point of sale system. So all these things, kind of in the middle here are going to be, yes, they're on the application, but they need more context. Annual income is, but not expectation of income over the next 5 years. Comfort level housing payment is not. Credit score, you'll find out, but you want to hear and you want to get context and you want to get an explanation on it. Liquid funds or retirement funds, yes, but again, context is going to be appropriate. So all these types of questions, you want combination of in the application, and you can transfer over afterwards, or your CRM or this document. So that would be where you want to house these things. You don't need any PowerPoints for the initial call. If you want to have your Art of Homeownership screen up, just in case you have someone who is questioning a lot of what you do and you feel like they could use some little bit more visual cue, you could literally, and even if you're on the phone, you could just say, hey, look, I'm going to send you a quick Zoom link. I want you to see something. So use every technological tool at your disposal. Most of the time, assuming that you've set the referral up correctly, meaning that the realtor is not referring you saying, hey, go talk to Ryan, he's got the best rates in town. If the realtor says, hey, you should talk to Ryan because what they do is really unique, I've sat through it, all my clients sit through it, you're going to become way more educated and confident than you could ever have imagined. Just go through their process. If that's the referral you get, the client will go through your process much easier. If you get a different kind of referral or you have some sort of rampant shopper, then you're going to need to use all the tools at your disposal to get them to be open to the idea of hearing what you do and then going through your process the way they should. And then time could be anywhere from 20 minutes to, I think the most would be maybe 40 to 45 minutes on that initial call. And that initial call, nothing else works if that initial call doesn't go well. And I just can't stress enough, if you're sending out an online application and collecting docs online and sending a pre-approval letter, just expect that you're going to have to be the cheapest. And if you're not the cheapest, be okay with losing clients, right? Because you deserve it. Or you didn't show them any additional value. You didn't ask them any questions that makes you stand out or that makes them believe that you have their best interest in mind. You're just shortchanging the process, not only for yourself, but more importantly for them. The reason we created this, guys, and the reason that I got asked in an interview over the weekend, why are you giving this out to people? Like, why are you letting other people use it? Why don't you just make this your superpower? And because I can't change the industry by myself, even some of the initial partners on the platform, we can't do it on our own. We need to create a group of elite level mortgage practitioners who have a desire to help people beyond the mortgage. And that starts with asking the right questions. So yes, it might take time, but you should build a team. That way, ultimately, you don't even have to do this call. Right? So on our team, our production partner one does the dreams and goals call every time. And then from there, that file goes to the loan coordinator to pre-approve it. The only thing the actual mortgage advisor is doing is the consultation and the contract meeting. That's the only interaction they have. And so that's why we teach team building on this platform a lot, because people are like, I don't have time. Like if I have 3 or 4 leads a day, that could take me 2, 3, 3.5 hours of just doing intake calls. Like I just need to send them the application and move on. Well, that might help you, but it doesn't help them. And long term, it's not going to help you. It's going to make your career harder and more challenging, and you're going to have to grind, and you're going to have to continue to lead generate at an extremely high level because you're not going to get referrals and you're not going to get repeat business. So don't worry about the time the call takes, just worry about who's doing it. And based upon where you are in your career, if you're a solo originator, if you're only doing 2 or 3 transactions a month or helping 2 or 3 families, you'll have time to do that. Don't worry about it. Once you start helping 5 families per month, then you need to hire a production partner. If you're at 10, you need 2. If you're at 15, you need 2 production partners and a loan coordinator. If you're at 20, you need 2 production partners, a loan coordinator, and a mortgage advisor. So every 5 transactions, 5 or 6, depending upon market, hire that next person and move on. And stop doing all the things you were doing before, right? So when your production partner comes on, you stop doing the dreams and goals calls, you stop doing email, you stop doing calendar management, you stop doing lead prospecting and follow-up. They do all that, right? You move into the next roles. So before I move on into the next page here, any questions or feedback on dreams and goals call, when it happens, how it happens, where it happens, or who does it? Everybody good? Feel free to type it in the chat, type it in Q&A, and we'll help along the way here. And remember, this is what it looks like. Right? It's in the e-learning platform. Everybody has access to it. If you get this down, you'll be better than 99% of mortgage originators in the country. And your clients will see you very, very differently. And then by proxy of them telling your referral partner how great it was, they'll see you differently. And they'll never want to use another mortgage professional besides you because they're not going to get that feedback from anybody else. They're going to hear a lot of the same stuff. Again, don't beat the competition, make them irrelevant. All right, moving on here. So setting expectations for the call, right? Communicate why it's happening, what you need from them, and why it's going to make for a better experience. So a lot of this backs up into how you're getting referred your clients, or how your clients are finding you, or when they find you, what they're reading about you. So I would do a full audit on your business. And this doesn't just apply to the mortgage professionals on the call. This should apply to the real estate professionals on the call as well. Wherever your business is coming from, make sure it's coming to you educated. Like if someone calls our team and says, hey, you know, we went online and saw that you have the lowest rates, I'm going to like lose my mind because nowhere online should it say that we have the lowest rates, right? If someone calls and says, hey, we referred to you by a realtor who said that, you know, you guys are awesome because you are the cheapest and you close the fastest. All right, we're going to have a conversation with that realtor, right? Because they're setting us up for a complete disconnect in what we do and why we do it. So audit all the places where your business comes from and make sure that people are coming to you saying, hey, I was referred to you because my friend, my realtor, my CPA, financial planner, or online, I heard or saw that you guys are really unique and you help people way beyond just giving them a mortgage, and you really focus on making them successful homeowners. Like that resonates with me. We would love that. How do we work with you? Awesome, right? That's what you're trying to accomplish every single time. And if you're not getting that, just work towards it, right? Talk to all your people, look online, look at your stuff, look what you portray. Right? When you on social media, are you portraying anything different? Are you sending a different message on your website? Right? Do you have your Art of Homeownership site integrated into your main site? Right? Do people know where to go there? Are you posting content around that? Right? Or are people getting to you and have no idea how different you are or what makes you unique? And then you have to work harder to do that. So everybody's going to be different spectrums. You're going to have people that are brand new that are going to have to work hard towards that. And we're going to have people who've been on the platform for a year plus who have that dialed in. So again, set the expectations for the call. Our production partner team are in the way that we work in our system and the way that we recommend from an Art of Homeownership perspective would be your production partner. You know, let's say Joe, the realtor, refers you to Bob, the client. Your production partner should reach out to Bob and say, hey, Bob, you know, my name's Ryan. I work here with the Insight team. You know, we'd love to schedule a time to have you do your dreams and goals call with the mortgage advisor, you know, Dave on the team. when is a good time to do that? It'll take maybe 20, 30 minutes or so. It's going to be in depth. We're going to ask a lot of questions. We're going to learn as much as we possibly can about your current situation, what you want to do, your goals for the future. Ideally, Joe, the realtor, told you about all this, but when's the best time for that to happen? So they already know what's coming. That call is going to get scheduled. It's going to get on the calendar and it's going to happen. So set the expectation. And then when you get on the call with the client, I'm going to say, Bob, really excited to meet you. I'm not sure how much Joe, the real estate agent, told you about our team. Do you know what makes us unique and different? And do you know kind of about our process? Right? Hopefully he says yes. And you say, great. So we're just going to do the discovery call here, learn as much as possible about you, and then we'll schedule a consultation, ideally, whenever it's most appropriate based on what we learn here in the call today. If they don't know, then you got to communicate. Okay, well, cool. This is our process. We do this call, we do a consultation, then ideally you're going to be fully underwritten. You're going to be out there looking for homes. When you get one accepted, we'll do a contract meeting. We do a post-closing call, and then we help you for the next 30 years. So you need to explain up front your superpower. People are not going to know it. And we've had people tell us, hey, we've been a part of Art of Homeownership for a while now, but we're not really seeing the difference. It's like, okay, well, can we role play your initial phone call? Then we do it, and they don't talk about it. It's like, well, what do you expect? Like, how do you, if you have a diamond to sell, but you're not telling people about your diamond, you're not going to sell it. So everyone needs to understand how to have the conversation on that first phone call, why it's so important. And then you get into what you need from them, why you need it. And then ultimately, the why is the important part of everything. So I always have to reiterate, Bob, the reason why we're going to have this conversation, whereas most people will probably just send you an online application link, which you may have experienced, is because I can't appropriately tell you the purchase price of the home, the down payment of the home, the monthly payment of your home, the after-tax amount of money that you're going to want to have on hand after the transaction closes, and the time horizon for your type of loan, or the cost structure of your loan, without knowing really important pieces of information that are not on the mortgage application. So hopefully everybody heard that. If you tell someone that, you say, hey, Bob, I can't give you the appropriate advice or guidance on your purchase price, your down payment, your amount of funds left over after closing, your monthly payment, or any sort of tax strategies or long-term planning without knowing more information than what's on the application. If anyone has only given you an application or a pre-approval letter, they have zero interest in actually helping you. They just want to sell you a loan. Once people hear that, like if someone told me that, I'd be like, oh crap, okay, well, yeah, let's go through all those things because I want to know what your thoughts are on those. So make that clear as to why you're doing what you're doing. Question here, how are you delegating who should be doing what? Yeah, Bo, I'm not sure if you were on earlier. So the production partner one on your team, assuming you're doing roughly 5 transactions a month, you should have at least one production partner. And that production partner one should be doing the dreams and goals call. Now, if they're newer, they're going to have to shadow you. They're going to have to listen. They're going to have to watch. They're going to have to learn. But over time, then they'll start taking them and you'll shadow them and then you'll give them feedback and constructive criticism. But over time, they'll be fully confident and you'll be confident that they handle that initial phone call. It's the same doctor mentality that you guys have always heard. If you're a really strong mortgage professional and you believe that your advice and your guidance and your planning and your knowledge of overall holistic real estate and finance is sound and strong, you are going to be wasting your time and your client's time if you're doing these calls. Because not every one of these calls turns into a consultation. Oftentimes, these calls can turn into, okay, well, now is not the right time, right? You need help on your credit. You need help with down payment. You are not going to be able to afford anything based upon your level of income that's even remotely appropriate. And if you're the mortgage professional or the mortgage advisor who is doing that, you're essentially donating your dollar per hour activity. And nobody should be doing that, right? Just calculate your dollar per hour activity and you can pay somebody to have that dreams and goals call. And as long as the client comes to you in a format of knowing your process, well, then it's going to be pretty easy for them to follow that process regardless of who's running it. Like you don't walk into a doctor's office and say, I want to see the doctor immediately. You go, you see the physician's assistant, they take your vitals, you do all that stuff. Like you just go through the process because you expect it. So same concept here. But you need to make sure your production partner one is trained and knows how to do that call. Some people might be thinking, well, what if we have a challenging kind of rate shopper client who on that first phone call, I need to be on that call because if I don't help overcome objections and set the tone, we might lose the client. Well, I agree with that, but it's also a limiting belief. Given the right information and the right scripting and the right belief system, then your production partner should be able to do exactly what you do, sometimes even better, because they're going to have more time and energy to do it. But in the interim, if you run into one of those people, have them loop you in. They stay on the call, they listen, and they start hearing you overcome objections and talk about the rate conversation head on. And everybody on this phone call and everyone in the mortgage industry should not only expect, but they should be blown away if the client doesn't talk about rate. They should expect the rate conversation to come up every time, and they should welcome it with open arms. It's one of my favorite questions I get. I actually get nervous when I don't get the question, well, I got a rate here or rate there. Why? Like, what about competitive interest rates? Are you the cheapest rate? Are you the best rate? If that question doesn't come up, I get nervous because I know it's going to come up right at contract and that client's going to potentially leave. So oftentimes, if they don't talk about it, I'm going to bring it up for them. But everybody on your team should be expecting it. They should be welcoming it, and they should be ready to overcome it and work through it. Bo, if you have another question on top of that, let me know. But that would be my answer, is that the production partner one, when trained appropriately, should be doing that call. So in terms of scripting and running the call in an effective way, you just go through this here, right? You literally just walk through this. This flows really well. Now, you don't have to ask question by question. If somebody jumps from, you're talking about income, and they jump to assets and they start talking about those, you don't have to stop them and be like, well, let's talk about credit first. Like, you can let it flow, so you can just jump right into liquid funds and retirement and work through all this way. So let the conversation flow. You don't need to chop it up by jumping around. And then how to end and the expectations to set after the call is over and next steps. Really great question. So at the end of the dreams and goals call, I'm just going to say, all right, Bob, it was phenomenal, connecting with you. Thank you so much for giving me all this information. I have the information I need now to really put together the context of what you should be doing. So at this point, you're going to be meeting with my mortgage advisor, Ryan. Is going to be kind of the next steps. What is the best day and time for you? And should your wife join us, or is anybody else, any other decision makers or anyone else should be educated on this process? So yeah, Tuesday 4. Okay, great. So you're going to meet Ryan Tuesday at 4. He's going to go through the whole consultation with you. He's going to show you all the different mortgage options you have, different purchase prices, different down payment amounts. He's going to talk to you about how we're going to set you up to be a bulletproof buyer, which is, making you look like cash and increasing the likelihood of getting your offer accepted. He's going to walk you through our during process, our contract meeting once you get your offer accepted. And then ultimately, he's going to help you really understand the reason why most of our clients choose us, which is how we help make you a very successful homeowner at every aspect of real estate finance. So he'll go more in depth with you on that conversation as well. But looking forward to meeting you guys Tuesday at 4. Ryan will be prepped and ready. And then there's a kind of a 2-path script you want people to take here. So this is important. I'm going to say, Bob, just so you know, coming into that meeting, there's 2 ways we can do it. We can either go over high level information without looking at your documentation, without doing a credit profile, without doing any of those things, right? Just based upon the information you've told us, and you can get a big picture, 30,000 foot view of what's potential and what's possible. Alternatively, if you want, you can get an exact, detailed, down to the penny view of exactly what you can do and when you can do it, and how you can do it. If that's the case, we just want to make sure we have the credit profile in place. We want to make sure that we have all your income and asset documentation. We want to make sure we have time to do a full review of all those things. That way, you really have a solid understanding, and you could essentially go buy a home, the next day if you wanted to. Which route would you rather choose, right? Do you want to know the real detailed, version of it, or do you just want kind of a big picture overview? 9 times out of 10, guys, you're going to get the detailed version. But you want to leave space for the people who need your help. right? Because that's one of your superpowers is you get to go tell every realtor, hey, don't just refer me the people that already know they want to buy a home and that they're going to do that in the next week. I want you to refer me everyone who doesn't know if they should buy a home. Because one of my, one of my gifts as a lender is to be able to help people understand if they should buy a home. And I would say more often than not, people will come to us saying, I'm not sure if, I should buy a home or not. I'm thinking about it. I wasn't really ready, but my realtor said you guys would be helpful in helping me create a plan and a strategy and a timeline. So I'm here. Like that person's not going to want to give you their social security number to run a credit profile. They're not going to send in their documentation. You have to show them through the consultation why buying a home is a strong financial move and why not buying a home would be a detriment to their family financially. And if you start doing that for all your realtor partners, you're the most important person on their team, because they can't take that person from I'm not sure I should buy a home to I'm going to buy a home, because the financial aspect is what's holding them back. But you can, right? So you show them the market, right? You show them what's happening and the why behind the market. You show them their personal financial situation versus the overall economic financial situation and get them comfortable and confident in doing that. So that's why, that two-path process is important. I've met a lot of lenders who are like, well, if they're not willing to, give me their social security number and send me their documents, then I'm not working with them. It's like, well, that's part of my language. That's effing terrible, right? Like, why not? There's more people in America today that don't know what to do than people that do know what to do. And if you're alienating the people who don't know what to do because you don't have enough time, that means you haven't built your team appropriately and you're not providing real value that people need. So you always need a path for people to be able to explore and learn. And what you'll find is by the end of that consultation, they will be blown away and be like, okay, God, we got to buy a house. Like it'd be financially irresponsible for us not to buy a home. What's the next steps? Okay, great. Now let's get approved and go through that process. But we needed to get you there mentally first. Now, again, 9 out of 10 people that you referred to will already be there, because most people aren't referring you people who don't know what to do, even though you want that. So once you have them, the 9 out of 10, you get their documents and let them know, look, we need at least 24 to 48 hours. So if we're meeting Tuesday at 4, let's try and get that stuff in by Friday morning. Can you commit to that? Yeah, great. Okay, cool. So we'll expect to have, I'm going to ask you a couple more questions here just to kind of round out the application, like social security number, date of birth, how long you've been in your home, address, that kind of stuff. You should have 80% of the application done through the Dreams and Goals call, and then you're just rounding it out with a few kind of follow-up key questions there. But what you don't want to do is talk to them for 30 minutes and then send them an application to fill out, which is just homework. Because does anyone here like homework? Especially if it's not due tomorrow, right? Imagine you have homework that's due at some point, maybe down the road at some time, but you're not sure if it's ever going to be due. That's a mortgage application for someone who doesn't want to buy a home tomorrow. You're not going to get them to commit to do it, right? So if you talk about the two paths and then you say, okay, they're going to choose the path of the detail. Okay, great. Well, I need it by Friday if you want to have that detail by Tuesday at 4. Great, cool. So now you have an anchor or commitment to anchor around that will really get them to get you that stuff. So that's the next steps and then the follow-up process. Any questions on how to get from the end of the Dreams and Goals call to the consultation? How to finalize the application, how to create urgency, and the two-path script of learning versus becoming pre-approved. Good there. Okay, moving on. So again, this is a Dreams and Goals call transitioning into consultation. Now we want to talk annual financial review because we get a ton of questions about that. Everybody good? All right. So annual financial review is the single most important thing that you can do in your client's life and in your business. Somebody tries to tell me different, I would love to have that conversation, but this is what clients need. They just don't know it. And this is what every person needs. They just don't know it. Most people don't have access to it and don't get it. So here comes the $1 million question. All right, well, who does it? Because I'm so busy because I haven't built my team appropriately. and I'm overwhelmed working on new clients and putting out fires and trying to grow my business, that I can't pay attention to my past clients the way that I should. And I am just as guilty as that as every other person on this call and every other person in the mortgage industry. I was the same guy. I had a huge desire to do annual financial reviews because I know that I had information and knowledge and opportunity that our clients didn't have. I just couldn't find the time to do it. I put it on my calendar every week, and shockingly, it would get overridden by something that was quote unquote more important. So let's just touch on the first bullet point. How should the approach to the annual financial review differ from the initial dreams and goals call? This is incredibly important. If you don't do this well, clients are going to feel disconnect. You don't want them to feel that in your business. So you can see here that the reason why it's titled this, right, client intake and annual financial review, is because it's the same questions. You're just finding out what's changed, and you're finding out if they've taken the steps that you've given them to take. So I'm going to ask all these questions on the intake call, on the dreams and goals call. On the post-closing call, when the transaction closes, I'm going to call and say, hey, Mr. Smith, super happy for you. Congratulations. By the way, here's all the ways we're going to help you for the next 30 years. If you thought we were helpful for the last 30 days, you're going to be blown away with how valuable we're going to be for you and your family for the next 30 years. Here's what you can expect, right? Concierge, monthly digests, perfect mortgage promise, maximize your home's value, don't ever sell it, all the things we talk about in the post-closing call. But you're going to say, and also it's important that you know that we're going to call on the anniversary of your loan, that transaction that closed every single year. And the reason we do this is because your life looks a certain way right now, right? Like you make a certain amount of money, your credit score is a certain way, you have certain debts, certain assets, certain liabilities, your family looks a certain way, health, job, everything. Well, a year from now, that'll change. I promise you it'll change. It may not change drastically, but there'll be some differences. You may have, your goals may shift. And maybe you decide that you want to move out of the area, or something changes at work. And most people think that it is entirely up to them to manage their real estate and financial livelihood as their life is changing and evolving. And we want you to know that's not your responsibility, it's ours. So because we take that responsibility so seriously, we need to have a conversation at least once a year to be able to figure out what's happening, what's new, and what's changing. So you set the tone in that post-closing call. You let them know, by the way, we're never going to sell you anything on this post-closing call. When's the last time you got a phone call from someone who gave you advice and guidance and really was invested in your success without selling you something? When's the last time you got that call? I promise you the client's going to laugh and say that call has never happened. You say, well, until now. And guys and girls on the Start of Homeownership call, I have had the most visceral responses to this. People are shocked. People are like, well, wait a minute. This is how do you, like, why does this make sense for you to do? Why do you do this? Or how do you make money off of this? Right? Am I paying more for this service? Like, people really get in their head. It's like, well, if it's never happened before, why is it happening now? And why is it so important to you? And you can say, look, as an Art of Homeownership professional, my commitment to you is much greater than the average real estate or mortgage professional. And the only way that I can really commit to that is by ensuring that I know what's happening. And the reason I do it, or the how behind it, is because I've been doing this for 15 years and I've seen what happened when we don't. People don't make good decisions. People make emotional decisions. They miss out on opportunities. They're not managing their own mortgage at a high enough level. They're, as their life is changing, they're not updating their real estate and financial livelihood with it. They're not protecting themselves well enough. They're not saving well enough for retirement. They're not, working with financial planners or CPAs or estate planning attorneys. They're just not doing those things. So I've seen the ramifications of us not doing it, and it's not pretty. That's why I'm doing it, because I want to help in all those areas. How is that most companies spend, millions, if not billions of dollars on marketing. They see them all over the Super Bowl and ads everywhere, and they have spokespeople. And they have to do that, and they have to pay for that because their clients aren't going to use them again. They use them one time and realize, well, that was not great, and I didn't get much out of it. So they have to continue to find new clients. We're going to take the same marketing dollars that any other company would use, and as opposed to marketing for new clients, we're going to take that same money and invest it in our current clients to make sure that you're the most successful homeowner you can be. And if we do that well, you will never want to use another mortgage or real estate professional again, because you'll realize the difference and you'll go tell everybody about it. You'll tell your friends, your family, your coworkers, your neighbors, like, hey, there's a better way of working with real estate and mortgage professionals. And so that's how we've grown our business. That's how we've become number one in the county. That's how we've become top whatever in the country. You fill in your blanks there. And that's why we're excited to help you with it. So now the client knows why it's happening, right? They know how it's happening. They know the reason and how you do it financially, like how it works and how it plays into your system. And then you just go through it. So, hey, last time we talked, a year ago, you bought this home. You had mentioned that you want to stay in it for quite some time. Anything changed there, right? Is this still your forever home? Anything different? Okay, great. Any concern? Last time we talked, you said one of your financial concerns was X. Did we address that? Did you talk to this person or that person, this person? And you just walk through this whole thing, right? You just hit on each point. And they go pretty fast most of the time because not a ton changes, a few things here or there, right? And you'll realize, okay, well, look, looks like credit score dipped a little bit. You guys have gone into some debt. Let's do an analysis on that debt and see if we can improve it, right? So you search for an opportunity from a mortgage perspective. You search for an opportunity from a real estate perspective. And then if those two aren't there, then you think, okay, well, how can we help them with their retirement? Do they have a financial planner? Are we referring them? Do they have a tax planner? Do they have the appropriate health, life, disability, umbrella insurance? Can we refer there? Do they have their estate plan in place? 70% of people don't. Can we refer there? Tax situation, right? Generational wealth planning. Have they talked to their parents? Have they talked to their children? So you want to give them any homework that they need to have and notate the homework that you gave them. So the next year, when you call them, you just go down the list. Hey, last year we told you to do this. Did that happen? Great. Check it off the list. And we're building out a more complete version of what we call their financial dashboard and their financial freedom score in our Art of Homeownership platform in the database. So we're excited to roll that out for everybody. That way you guys can use it much more appropriately there as well. So let me move back over here. So that's how it differs from the Dreams and Goals call. Similar questions, but you're just touching on what you talked about the previous year, what they've done, and then at the end, what they should do. You give them homework for the coming year. If you ask all those questions again from scratch, the client's going to be like, wait a minute, what? This isn't it. It's almost like you forgot everything we talked about last year, right? Like, and they may not tell you that, but they'll be like, oh, okay, well, they're just like, they're trying to get to know me all over again. There is nothing more of a secure feeling than, when I talk to my financial planner, he has every note. The thing he tells me things I forgot that I wanted to do. Oh yeah, I forgot about that. We should look at that. Like, that is a very secure, safe feeling, and it makes me feel supported, and it makes me feel like people are working for me. So you being able to bring up stuff that they said and touch on goals and make sure that you're still working through that with them. This is why we say, look, nobody should ever call you and surprise you that they're going to buy, sell, or refinance a home. If that happens, you lose. They can go do that with anybody. You should be so dialed in to their goals and their dreams and their vision and what they want to accomplish that you help them figure out when to buy, sell, or finance real estate, and you just help them work towards it. And it should be a very symbiotic partnership. Any questions on difference between Dreams and Goals call and initial or the annual financial review? Cool. So what should be prepared beforehand, and what should the client be prepared for the meeting? So they're going to get the email from Art of Homeownership, and they'll get the text if they've opted in. So they'll get the email with your Calendly link to schedule the annual financial review with you. They will get the text message to do that same thing. Again, as long as they opt into the text email format. And so they should be prepared. It'll have on that email all the things they need to kind of prepare for and to kind of show them what they're going to be doing there. So they don't need to do a ton of prep on their hand. You just need to, before that call, go into the file, make sure you pull up either your CRM or that document and familiarize yourself with, okay, this is what the Smiths are looking for. This is what happened, blah, 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 go from there. And on every single one of these calls, you should be either getting or giving a referral. So it is a massive business builder. Right? And then obviously you're building a foundation on, steel and cement and rock solid foundation, as opposed to quicksand, which most loan officers and realtors build their businesses on, because their database is not engaged and they don't feel like a part of the team. So prep wise, not that big of a deal. Next bullet point: is it a good time to ask for referrals, and how should that be done in a tasteful way, non-salesy? Yes, every single time. So as I'm going through this, all right, let's talk about financial planning. How you doing retirement planning, all that stuff. Oh, so-and-so, like if it's an 8 or below, you're referring them to your person. If it's a 9 or 10, you're getting that referral from them. And if it's from your realtor partner, you're going to use that for your realtor partner. If it's from you, then if you need another one, then build it into your system. But getting and giving referrals to ancillary professionals every time, talking about connecting with their employer, right? So again, ask, hey, hopefully you've enjoyed the Art of Homeownership platform. Hopefully you've enjoyed all of our services thus far. Who can we talk to at your company to be able to talk to get in as the, as an Art of Homeownership practitioner and offer all this to all of your other coworkers. And then lastly, at the end of the review, you've gone through everything. Like, hey, how was this annual financial? Was it helpful for you? Do you feel like we've fulfilled our commitments? Yeah, you guys have been great. Awesome. I'm going to say, Bob, who else do you know who would benefit from this? And I'm not asking who do you know who wants to buy, sell, or finance a home? My assumption is that if you know those people, we'd have the opportunity to help them. But who do you know who you think would just benefit from being a more successful homeowner by getting all the things that we're offering to you? Who do you think would benefit from the home concierge service, from seeing the monthly digest that you get to see on every month, from having this type of initial review and annual review every year? Anyone in your family that you think would benefit from that? Friends, coworkers, who do you know? And then just listen. And I promise you're going to get names. But again, you didn't ask for, who do you know who wants to refinance or buy a house? Because 1% of the country is going to do that. It's highly likely Bob's not going to know anybody. But you didn't ask for that, right? You asked for, who can we provide Art of Homeownership to? And we're not selling anything, right? It's just going to be all value to them, no sales. And if they've enjoyed it, and if you've done your job well, they have social currency that they want to go give and offer to other people also. So that would be at the end of it. And he'll give you a name or two. Bob, really appreciate you. Looking forward to helping you between now and our call next year. As you know, reach out to us at any time. Make sure to keep looking at your digest on a monthly basis. Click the buttons, ask questions. We're here for you. Let's stay engaged. And looking forward to helping you as you continue to be a more successful homeowner. Right, that's kind of the end of your annual financial review there. And then follow up post AFR is you just deliver on all of the things you said you would deliver on. First of all, you write all the notes and make sure all the notes are in the system, so the one you do next year is congruent. Now, if you said you're going to refer them to anybody, then refer them. Don't not do that, because that's terrible. If you are expecting a referral from them, ask them to put you in touch, and then put a calendar reminder for 24 to 48 hours later. Hey, I know you said you're going to put us in touch with your brother. Would you mind putting us in touch on this email, or your CPA or financial planner, so on and so forth. So do any follow-ups that are appropriate based upon your expectations from that call. So that's your annual financial review. Before I ask for questions, elephant in the room is we're all too busy. We can't do those. Hire a customer success manager. Our group, my team has a customer success manager. I've hired customer success managers for everybody in our region. Our company has taken that role on at a high level as well. Customer success managers are not mortgage professionals. They legitimately, if for a team, they could do your post-closing calls for you, which take 20 to 30 minutes per client. They can do your 3-month follow-up calls, your 6-month follow-up calls, which you should be doing, not required to be an Art of Homeownership platform. And then your annual financial reviews. That's all they do. And they're compensated that way. They have a base salary, and they get compensated based upon the activities that they perform. They get compensated on annual financial reviews. This role will make you more money than you could ever pay them. And it will give you the confidence and peace of mind of knowing that what you're telling someone on the front end is actually happening on the back end. And if you're saying, well, I can't hire another person, I don't have the money, like, you should have, like, the profitability in these loans is there. Like, you really should be able to, based upon your level of production, hire the people you need to do the job that's appropriate. Companies aren't going to do that for you, right? You need to own that yourself. And so either carve out the time and do it yourself, and if you don't have enough production where it warrants a customer success manager on its own, partner with 2 or 3 other 4 other people in your company. So like, hey, what do you guys think about going on a customer success manager together? Ideally, they'd be art of home ownership partners as well. That way they could all speak the same language. But if each person does 7 deals, you got 4 people, you're at 28 to 30 transactions per month. Like that level of collective income can easily pay for a customer success manager that will not only deliver the commitment that you've offered, but will give you all the confidence in the world to confidently state what you do. We had a new recruit, a new branch manager that came on board, and one of the things he said was, I hear you talk and I can feel your truth. I can feel you saying it. When I say it, even as an art of home ownership partner, I just, I don't have a ton of confidence in it because I haven't seen it executed. I haven't seen it happen. And so it takes the execution, and it takes the systems and the infrastructure to actually make it happen for you to really have the confidence. Otherwise, you're just saying it. Not only will you not believe it, but the person on the other end of that phone or that Zoom call is not going to believe it either. So if you have questions on that, we can train more on what that role does and what they become. And I think it's the most, if we really want to change the mortgage industry, that customer success manager is the most important person on your team, because they are going to be the one who actually delivers the commitment on the change that you're offering. So any questions on annual financial review, anything that we just discussed in that? Cool. All right, so let's end it with mindset here. On these dreams and goals calls and annual financial reviews, the goal is to listen more than you talk. People have a lot to say if you give them the space to say it, and feel comfortable in silence. Ask open-ended questions. Right, so it says the initial dreams and goals call will set the stage for the transaction and their impression of you, and so you want to ensure it's a good one. You just ask the question and let them go. Most of the time, people ask the question and the client starts thinking, and then they can't handle the silence, so they go, "Well, if you don't know it, blah blah blah, it's okay." Or "Hey, who do you know who you could who might benefit from this as well?" Silence. "Oh, and if you don't know anybody, it's okay." Like, don't fill in the blank while they're thinking and chop yourself off at the knees. Like, listen, give them space, give them time, ask open-ended, thought-provoking questions, which all of them are written down there for you to offer. And just make sure that when you're having that initial dreams and goals call, the way you carry yourself and the questions you ask should be all that client needs to realize this is a whole new person, right? And if you allow them to talk through it, you ever gone to a party and you met somebody and they asked you question after question after question, and you just got to talk about yourself and your family and what you do, and be proud, and you just spewed everything, and then you leave and you go, man, that guy or girl was amazing. They were so nice, and I just feel like I'm connected with them. You don't know a damn thing about them, right? Like, you didn't ask them one question, but they asked you a bunch of questions and they listened, right? That's what people are looking for, because people don't do that in our society anymore. So the key is the last bullet point states here, is to understand their situation rather than simply filling out a form. People only know what they're told. And if you watch my presentation, which if we haven't already, we'll send out my presentation from the event. I highly recommend everybody watches it. We're giving clients what they want, because what they want is what they read online, but we're not giving them what they need. And filling out an online application is what they want, because they don't know that they need something more. They don't know that something more valuable exists. So we have a question here in the chat, I think, or a comment. Let me see. Isn't there an outline for that position within the portal? Yes, Ron, good question. There is an outline for the customer success manager in the portal. If you can't find it, email Art of Home Ownership team and AOH team. If for some reason you need it, if it's not in there, just email me and I'll get it over to you. But the CSM role should be in there. So guys, I'll leave you with this. As you're going through the remainder of today and this week, before the Art of Home Ownership training next week, every time you talk with a client, don't try and beat your competitors, whether you're a realtor or a lender. Just make them irrelevant. Sell a completely different product. Be in a blue ocean. Don't be the same as every other lender. You have an amazing thing that you've invested in that allows you to be wildly different. So differentiate yourself with your value proposition and give clients the value proposition that they need, not just the loan they think that they want. And that's how you make people irrelevant. All right, I'm gonna stick around for a couple minutes. If anybody has any questions or comments or feedback or wants to go over anything. Otherwise, we are almost at the top of the hour and appreciate everyone being here. Hopefully this is helpful.